Anthony Volpe is proving that hitting coaches are overrated and that superstitions and friendship are way more important in the game of baseball. Mike Trout, he unfortunately could be missing a ton of time. I hope that's not the case, but after a pretty normal swing yesterday against the Padres, he was experiencing some pain that he said he's never felt before. He cannot describe the pain that he was in. The Belly and Yelly duo faced off yet again. This time Bellinger is in a Cubs uniform, but they're both having really good seasons, at least in my opinion. All of that in today's MLB Recap, a series in which we recap every single game, almost every single day. Happy 4th of July. Be safe out there. Have some fun because baseball and 4th of July, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. It's a match made in heaven. Now, before we talk about the full games from yesterday, I do want to talk about some quotes from some star Padre players, and the first one, Manny Machado, he called out fans as well as Major League Baseball because they left off Fernando Tatis Jr. from the 2023 Midsummer Classic, the 2023 All-Star Game. He said that it's some BS, and I agree. Fernando Tatis Jr. has played like a top 10 player in baseball despite missing 20 games, and players, I don't know if they vote for reserves, but they left Fernando off again. Maybe they're holding that steroid suspension over his head and saying, hey, you're going to have to miss this round because you did that, you cheated the game. If that's the case, I'm sure that a lot of people are going to side with that argument, but for me, I mean, Fernando, he's done nothing but rake and play the game the right way, so I think he should have made it. Another Padres player that had some words yesterday, we had Juan Soto. He said that he was impressed by Shohei Ohtani, but then he says this.
Shohei tomorrow, 31 homers, 3 ERA, third straight year he made it as a DH and a pitcher. I mean, what do you think about what this guy's doing?
Yeah, he's impressive, but he's going to have trouble to face this lineup tomorrow, definitely. I mean, I'm coming here to play baseball. We all know he's an impressive player, but whenever he's stepping on the mound, I won't be scared to shuffle his eyes.
All right, let's see if Soto and the Padres can back up all of that. Now, they're not facing Ohtani in this one. Jaime Barria of the Angels, he's on the bump, and that baseball is definitely not coming back. Xander Bogaerts, he's kind of been an afterthought in a Padres uniform. Maybe it's just me. He has 9 home runs, which is good, but he's hitting .259, which is way off from his combined .304 batting average from 2019 to 2022 when he really broke out. Now it's time to talk about the 2018 AL Cy Young winner. Back when Blake Snell was on the Rays, he was the best pitcher in baseball. And now in 2023, after struggling the last few years, I mean, he wasn't really struggling per se, but for Blake Snell standards, he wasn't as good. Yesterday, he struck out 7 more hitters, all while tossing 5 shutout over his last 42 innings. Mind you, this is when Gary Sanchez joined the team and started catching for Blake Snell. He's allowed 3 runs over his last 42 innings. He struck out 67 hitters over his last 42. That is a 0.64 ERA and an almost 14 and a half strikeouts per 9. Nando, again, I think that he should have been an all-star. He's showing some maturity, in my opinion. He has barely said any words aside from that one series in the Bronx. He ripped a 2-run single. He singled in another in the 9th. He's on pace for a 35 home run, 96 RBI, 31 stolen base season despite missing 20-plus games. San Diego, they win big 10-3 as the Angels. They not only lose their 6th game in their last 10, but also they might have lost Mike Trout for a while because in the 8th inning, he had what looked like a normal swing and miss, but his wrist locked up. Still no update on the x-rays, but after the game, he said that his wrist was still hurting and also that he could not describe the pain that he was in. It was that painful. Prayers up for Mike Trout because I need Trouty and the Angels in the playoffs. The Rangers and the Astros, Houston, we do not have a problem. The Astros, they came out ready to put on a show, an early 4th of July show. They blasted off for 3 home runs in the 2nd inning alone. Chas McCormick and Yainer Diaz, they have been so good for the Astros this year, and Kyle Tucker, he's always been good. He went yard in grand fashion. That grand slam means that he's now hitting .295 with 13 home runs, 55 RBIs, and 14 stolen bases. Okay, Houston, we might actually have a problem now. Breakout star Leody Taveras, he stole some momentum on a 2-run home run. And just kidding on the whole, Houston, we might have a problem because Bregman, he singled in Altuve, and Jose Abreu, he's taken out all of his early season frustrations on some baseballs lately. That 3-run tank went 452 feet. He's hitting .310 with 12 extra base hits and 21 RBIs over his last 23 games. Travis Gronkowski, he didn't go 452, but a home run is a home run. Adolis, he got it within 4 runs on a single in the 5th. And Gronkowski, he delivered again. So Houston, okay, we have a problem now. He drove in 2 more in the 5th for a 5 RBI day. And after Leody drove in his 3rd run to get it within 1, Adolis Garcia, he tied it up. He now has 21 home runs and an MLB best 63 RBIs. Texas, they then took the lead on a sac fly from Corey Seager. It was 10-2 Houston in the 4th. Now the Rangers are winning. It was all for nothing, though, as Jose Abreu laced an RBI double, his 13th extra base hit in the last 2 weeks. McCormick, he basically has been George Springer 2.0. He stole the lead back, and Ryan Presley, he came in. He has 18 saves now after nailing that one down. The Rangers, they're 10-16 over their last 26 games. The Astros, they're now 3 games back of first place. The Reds have basically been the anti-Rangers over the last few weeks because they're now 17-4 over their last 21 games. Joey Votto, he came off the IL like he never left, but he has really struggled after the hot start. So that 2-run home run right there is huge for him. And after the game, he said that he finally felt something click. Hopefully, he's going to be able to keep that up going forward. Now, I do want to show Jeimer Candelario's home run because he's #1 in F-WAR of any third baseman in the National League. Over his last 13 games, he's hitting .292 with 9 extra base hits, 10 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. He's 29 years old, so he's kind of in the middle of his prime. Washington should get a lot of capital in a trade for him before the deadline. Anyways, Alexis Diaz, he closed it out. He has 24 consecutive saves to start the season. And like I mentioned, the Reds, they're 17-4 over their last 21, and they're 16-3 over their last 19 road games. All right, so I'm going to show this Cody Bellinger RBI single, and then I'm going to skip all the way to Christian Yelich ripping an RBI triple later on. So Bellinger, he has 10 stolen bases and a 111 OPS plus, so he's been pretty good. Yelich, he has 19 stolen bases and an almost 130 OPS plus. He's been even better. Is this the return of Yelly and Belly? Let me know in the comments. But that RBI 3-bagger made it 6-3. So Milwaukee, they still had some work to do. Adames, he helped out knocking in Yelly after his triple, but nothing happened for a while. Julio Teheran, he was sent back out to really save the bullpen because he allowed 6, but they said, hey, go out there, eat some pitches, and eat some pitches he did. He got through 6 innings. Milwaukee, they have the bases loaded in the 7th, and they need the light-hitting Jahmai Jones to step up. And would you look at that? He actually stepped up. His base-clearing 3-run double tied it at 6, and Willy Adames, he clutched up in the very next frame to give his team their first lead of the day. Devin Williams, he has 18 saves now, and by the way, he has a career 1.94 ERA and a 14 strikeouts per 9 over nearly 200 innings. That's insane. Milwaukee and Cincinnati, they are still tied for first place, while the Cubs, they've lost 3 in a row. They're 3-7 over their last 10 games, and they're in 4th place despite being the only team in the NL Central with a positive run differential. Former Yankee Aaron Hicks played his first game in the Bronx since being cut by the Yankees, and the Yankees fan base really gave it to him. They were booing him like crazy, and that wasn't a surprise for him because he was booed on his way out of the Bronx, so of course he's going to get booed as soon as he comes back. Now his new teammate Tad is back as Baltimore jumped out to an early 3-0 lead. The second run came on a double from Adley Rutschman, who is confirmed to be in the home run derby now. That's when the next captain showed up, Anthony Volpe. I think that he's going to be a captain one day for the Yankees. He sent one over the left field wall. He's hitting .380 with 8 extra base hits since Austin Wells told him over a plate of chicken parmesan that he should change his batting stance, and he has been absolutely elite ever since that point. Kyle Higashioka, he made it back-to-back home runs, and Volpe got on again in the 7th, and he eventually came around to score on a wild pitch from Yennier Cano, and that right there can make a grown Italian man shed some tears. Bader tomahawked the pitch at his eyebrows. He pimped a 3-run go-ahead 415-foot home run. He finally got his OPS plus back over 100. Clay Holmes, he struck out 2 for his 10th save. He has a 2.3 ERA and an almost 11.5 strikeouts per 9. He has been pretty good. The Yankees bullpen, they just do not give up leads, and New York, they're now just 3 games back of the Orioles for 2nd place in the AL East. Now, real quick, we're going to shift gears and go to the AL Central because Minnesota, they can reclaim first place if Atlanta beats Cleveland, and what you expected to happen happened. Michael Harris hit his first of 2, so stay tuned for the second home run. Albies, this dude is a second baseman with 60 RBIs and a 115 OPS plus. Ozuna, he was apparently hungry because he had an Oppo taco. The whole Marcell Ozuna on the Braves dynamic is still kind of confusing because Braves fans, they really don't like him, but he's been really good over the last 2 weeks. Anyways, Michael Harris, he went the other way for a second home run. The dude is hitting .400 with 7 home runs and 5 stolen bases over his last 25 games. Bryce Elder almost went 7 innings, but he got tagged for a 2-run single on an Ahmed Rosario base hit. So at least things felt a little bit close for Guardians fans. I mean, listen, I'm a Guards fan. I got to grab onto any hope available to me. Atlanta, they still win after Iglesias collected his 15th save. They have won 9 games in a row. Can we just not face the Braves anymore? The Braves are going to win the World Series, maybe even sweep anyone they face. They're that good. Minnesota is going to hop right back into the driver's seat in the AL Central because they got to face the Royals, and it was a solid little back and forth, not gonna lie, as Joe Ryan picked himself up after giving up like 6 runs in 2 of his previous 3 starts. He struck out 9 hitters over 6 innings, allowing just 2 earned runs along the way. After he came out, Nick Pratto, he roped a game-tying home run in the 8th, so Joe Ryan, he's not gonna get the W. And I really think that home run made Minnesota angry because something clicked for them. Edward Julian, he now has 5 home runs and a .340 on base percentage. He needs to play more despite him being terrible against lefties. Let him figure it out at the major league level. And was that a bunt single for an RBI, shout out to Michael A. Taylor for bringing some old school baseball in the modern era. Kepler, Correa, and Alex Kirilloff, they all went home with some RBI singles. They all combined to make an 8 spot on the day. I feel like the Twins should be doing this more often because on paper they're a pretty good offense, but they're bottom 20 in nearly everything offensively. Regardless, that pitching staff is going to help them carry all season long. They're back in first place. The Mariners and the Giants, that last game was a back and forth for the first 8 innings, whereas this one, it was a back and forth until the very last pitch. Blake Sabol, he barreled up his first of 2 home runs. Again, you're not going to want to miss the second one. Logan Webb was absolutely electric. He struck out 11 Mariners over nearly 7 innings. He leads the National League in both innings pitched and batters faced. Now, he did allow a second run to score, so Seattle rookie Brian Wu, he's off the hook for an L. It was tied 2-2 going into the 9th when a sac fly from J.P. Crawford made it 3-2, and look at J-Rod. He made the entire San Francisco crowd go quiet. He ripped a huge 2-run double to extend their lead to 3 runs. J-Rod was obviously hyped, and it blows my mind that this guy's having a down year. He's still on pace for 26 home runs and 40 stolen bases, but he only has a 104 OPS plus, so he's still been very productive when he does get on base. Teoscar Hernandez, he drove in an extra insurance run. Seattle fans were grateful for that because remember that Blake Sabol kid? He went 420 feet basically to dead center for a 3-run moonshot. He has 10 home runs now on the season, which is really good for a catcher who can also play outfield. Sewald, he looked human for once, but those were the game's final runs. He got the job done as the Mariners barely win 6-5. Those 3 straight losses for San Francisco are huge for the Dodgers, who can now get within 2.5 games of first place after they leapfrog San Francisco for second place. Max Muncy, he hit his 19th home run, and apparently the fountain of youth resides somewhere near Dodger Stadium. Like Jason Hayward, he must be sipping on some fountain of youth juice down there, even though it didn't really work on Noah Syndergaard. Regardless, I mean, Hayward has a 121 OPS plus. LA got 1 more off the bat of Miguel Rojas on that double. They ended up with 5 runs as Evan Phillips, he got his 12th save. Really easy game to recap. The Dodgers are back to just 2.5 games back of the Diamondbacks for first place in the NL West. Here we go, the Cardinals and the Marlins. After Jesus Sanchez put his team up by 2, the Cardinals fought back and actually stole the lead. Wilson, he belted a home run in the 3rd, and later on, Wilson came around to score for the lead after a 6th inning double from Paul DeJong. So the score is 4-2 after an Arenado sac fly when the 39-year-old phenom Yuli Gurriel smoked a 2-run double to tie it. He's hitting 275 with a 100 OPS plus, so not bad for a near 40-year-old. Nick Fortes plated the game-winning run, and AJ Puck, he has been so good for the Marlins along with his former A's buddy, Jesus Luzardo. Puck has 14 saves as the Marlins are 2.5 games ahead of anyone for the National League wildcard spot. Before we end the recap, I want to give you guys an update on all of these stat leaders across the game of baseball. Luis Arraez, he's still basically hitting 390, so he's way ahead of Ronald, who is hitting 335. Shout out to him. Pitching leaders, Shane McClanahan, he's going to be stuck at 11 because right now he's on the IL, which really stinks. I thought that he was going to be the starter for the American League in the All-Star game. Home runs, it's still the unicorn, the sweet prince himself, Shohei Ohtani at 31. ERA, Justin Steele, shout out to him. He has a 2.43 ERA. Bryce Elder has a 2.45. I don't know if Justin Steele is going to start the All-Star game. I think he actually is, but I don't know if that's confirmed yet. RBIs, you have Adolis, 1 ahead of Matt Olson and Shohei Ohtani. Saves, Emmanuel Clase, Romano, and Doval. They're all tied right now with Alexis Diaz. Base hits, you have Luis Arraez, 6 ahead of Ronald. Strikeouts is Spencer Strikeout Strider with 155. He's on pace for over 300. Esteury Ruiz, he is 2 ahead of Ronald. He has 42 already, talking about Ruiz. Ronald, he's the first player ever with a 20-40 first half, and quality starts, it's still Stroman. That does it for today's 4th of July MLB recap. Thank you all so much for your support over the last few days, and by the way, I reached 50,000 subscribers on my gaming channel. A lot of you guys just kind of forgot that I still post gaming just on a different channel. I wanted to separate, but you guys have been so supportive. I wanted to kind of give you a round of applause. Thank you for everything. Be safe today, and have a great time with your family and friends.